Welcome to the second episode of Podcast Your Destiny. I'm your host, Siege Nagels, and today's guest is Claudia de Pasquale. Midlife is not a crisis.
Welcome, Claudia, to our Podcast Your Destiny. I'm extremely thrilled and grateful to invite you here. This is our second episode, and I would love to introduce you to my community because the moment that I met you, for me, you resemble power. And the beautiful thing is that I love to speak to people who bring this other level, this other awareness to women, because you focus on women. And so welcome. So, Claudia.
Thank you so much, Sisha, for having me, and thanks for the compliment. I think they're a bit. But anyway, I'll accept them. Thank you so much. And there's one thing, I don't work only with women.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true to say that recently the work I do has brought me to reflect more on women's situations and especially the emotional and social and energetic aspects of women in society connected to what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
but I don't work only with
Okay,
women in
okay,
general.
good.
I work
Okay.
with humans, let's say.
Okay.
I love humans, so
Yeah. I understand. I totally get it. Thank you for clarifying. So, what it is that you do and why you do what you do.
okay. So I am a career transformation strategist, and what I do is I help experienced, mature professionals to escape the lack of excitement in their career. I help them reignite a drive and the motivation for their work. And especially I do this through helping them rebrand themselves and position themselves in a strategic way, independently from whether these people would like to go on their own and don't know how to approach it, or whether they would like to just have a meaningful, purposeful, well-paid, because this is an important aspect, career transition within corporate.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
And I really love that you say well paid.
Yeah.
So let's go deeper into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of aspects in regards to this. First of all, I find I'm somebody who has always loved to work. My work was always very important to me in my life, an important role, because through work I have learned to find out what I'm good at, what I like, what I don't like. And I've never seen it as just a means to a salary at the end of the month. I've always used, let's say, like this work to find out more about who I am and what I really thrive on. So I spent my first 18 years of my life working in banking, in wealth management, international, in Switzerland. And I loved what I was doing. I entered banking in a somehow non-traditional way, thanks to the fact that I had studied languages. And at the time, at the beginning of the year 2000, it was open. I could enter it even without no economic education. And then it was like, for me, because I was used to pursuing excellence in a sense, I always wanted to grow within this role. So I had a pretty steep career development, and I enjoyed growing and switching up every 2 years, more or less, until I felt that I had seen it. And also the industry was going through some major changes after 2008. My doubts started to kind of triple, and I was asking myself, is this the right environment for me? Is it still what I signed up for? And also the pressure from the performance point of view kept on going and going and going. And then personally, I was always lucky to work with excellent bosses who were appreciative of the fact that I wanted to know and learn and grow. And I realized that if I kept on going, I had reached the peak of what I could reach with the education I had and the experience I had. If I did not go more into this masculine, aggressive, no vulnerability accepted side of me, and I decided, oh, I'm on the verge of physical and mental burnout. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I developed my interest in coaching, in professional coaching. I did certifications while I was still working as an employee.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me 7 years from the beginning of this side hustle development until I was ready to take off on my own. And my deep why is because we need to love what we do. And the reason for the well-paid being important is, first of all, money is a huge gratification part of the work we do. So it's part of the game. It's part of being fulfilled as well, right? So when you're employed and you give your best, which is the normal for the people I work with, it's mainly high performers and people who love to do their work. Being paid well is like, it's an important part of the game, but it doesn't need to be the only reason why you stay in a place where you just feel it's not my thing anymore. Yeah. So I always make sure, and this is perhaps something which we can rely to women particularly, that women, yes, they become fulfilled in the work they want to do or grow into, but money needs to be a satisfactory part. So my aim is always to have people earn 30, 40, even 50% more, if not more, is always welcome. Yeah.
I so love that when I read what it is that you do, because you literally share boldly, like boldly in the sense of, because in society it's perceived as, whoa, you go for the money, instead of, I just allow myself to be financially provided with the things that I love to do and what I'm good at.
Yeah.
So I really love that, especially the fact that you chose those numbers, 30, 40, 50%, because it allows people to think bigger than the level they are right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So I really appreciate
that. I really feel that money is much more than what we have been conditioned to think and believe about it. There has been lots of connections to shame in especially as women.
I resonate.
But on the other hand, that's what we always chase, no? So hidden, we just don't speak about it. And you see, that's the difference. In the work I do, it's not about chasing more money. It's also strictly connected to knowing your worth, knowing the worth of the value of the work that you bring, be it to an employee or be it in your own business. When I work with people who want to lay out the foundations of their solopreneurship, right? Heart connected business, I'm here for it. Money is important. We can't just live out of purpose. So also, I think because of my background, like stuff like investing or thinking about really providing in the sense of having some financial independence. Yes, of course, professionally, for me, that was normal. I was always working at the front and helping in relationship management. But I find that as women, specifically, because I know that you work with women, it's time we start being more accepting that financial independence is not only about the money. Yes. It's about giving us options. Yeah. It's about having the freedom to choose. I'm out of this relationship because if the only thing which keeps me here is because you're paying my stuff, I hate being in this relationship. And then women can't get out because of financial restrictions. That's a shame. Yeah. In 2025, I think, it's time that that we women accept the fact that being financially independent is a cool thing, and it cannot give us more than just options. Yeah. And money is not about having more things. For me, it's about having more options. Yeah. And the freedom to choose.
Yeah, it's definitely about freedom and having the options, and also having the possibility to do what you want to do when you want to do it. Mm-hmm. If your children need you, you're able to be there for your children. If your mother or father needs you, you can focus on them. If you want to help your parents, because if you're helping you, you're able to. And what I also understand is literally allowing to support your own pension from your own parts, and making sure that you have a good life without worrying anymore about money at all. Yeah. Yes. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, because what I see in society is that we've been told different stories about money and we believed it. And I really feel also, because of you touched upon shame. So I also felt that when I was working on my money beliefs, I discovered that a part of it was connected to shame. And in the beginning, I was wondering where that came from. And once I started to observe how the story of money is being told, or the conditioning about money, then it became clear to me, I allowed this shame to operate in my subconscious. So I was working on that, and I know it has been a big awareness for me to know that played at some level. Because when I stepped out of my marriage, my biggest fear then was to become poor. Yeah. So, and I literally knew I had to work on that one, because I knew that, okay, I'm not going to stay in this marriage because of the financial aspects. And I noticed that a lot of women, they don't choose themselves, they don't prioritize themselves, exactly because of what you shared.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it's crucial that women are taught about the possibilities, what's out for them. Yeah. When they see their self-worth.
Yeah. I agree on that. And I have to say, I might be helped because for me, the reason why I think that we always have to consider money as an active part of career fulfillment is not only because of my almost 20 years in private banking, but it's also because of how I have been brought up. And I have witnessed my mother, and it's a generational thing, okay? So my mother is 86 and a half now. And I have witnessed my mother being completely, dependent and abused financially by my father. And I remember exactly the day I was about, 15 or 16 years old, when I was witnessing certain episodes, and money destroyed this relationship completely. And I swore to myself, you will never be financially dependent on somebody else. Yeah. And I think it gives you a lot of imprint. And I just reacted in the opposite way of what I saw my mother going through, because for me it was never. I'm never going to do this. I will never be available to this. And I think it's important to also explore what have we experienced when we were children and when we were adolescents, what type of situation did we have at home? I mean, in my case, it was horrible because my father was a gambler and he ruined the whole family. And so I witnessed that. And I also witnessed my mom, because the generational thing had conditioned her that, yeah, she couldn't do much else than just continuing to be independent on this man. And witnessing that, for me, was really like the turning point, definitely. And I think this is really important, that people always think of, okay, as you said, how have I been brought up? What have I seen as an example? What can I learn from this? How can I do it differently, do it better, right? Without blaming.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Which is easy to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done lots of work on this, but and I was also blaming sometimes my mother for not standing up for herself. And really working on this and asking ourselves and bringing it to awareness. Yeah, some stories, I don't know whether your audience knows, I'm sure they know from you that we are prone to tell ourselves stories, which for us then become our
identity
and also our truth. Right?
There's
only this truth.
Yes.
Because we are so used to hearing it, and because we were in an environment which was forging that. So, and those stories can be shifted, but that's another topic.
No, I definitely resonate with that, and it's something that I share about in my YouTube videos for sure, because we also don't see that there's this level of belief in our stories, that it's because of I experienced this that I'm in this situation now.
Yeah.
And people use that as a permission slip for their lives to be a specific way, instead of understanding I can work with this.
Yeah.
And because you also on your website, I visited your website, of course, and you also speak about AIDS. So can you share more about that? Because you, on the one hand, you use clear strategies.
Yes.
And then also the emotional states are related to the subconscious. And I'd love to hear you speaking and sharing more about that.
So in my own experience, because my business idea and concept and the niche I'm focusing on people, let's say in the second part of their careers, right? After the first 10, 15 years, comes exactly from having experienced that in order to get myself out of an environment where I just didn't feel I belonged anymore, I needed a mixture of both. I needed to take care of what I was feeling, of my mental state, of learning what my thoughts, how they cause my feelings, and how those feelings impact the way I act, which then brings me or not the result. I needed to look at this on one hand, right? Also, so let's call it the mindset part. And at the same time, I needed to stay very grounded and very practically focus on, okay, what steps do I need to take? And how do I shorten the time to get from A to Z, which is Z being our goal, right? So you can't do it, in my experience, and that's what I'm seeing with my clients. You need a mixture of both. You can't do it just one way. You can't do it only focusing on mindset, and you can't do it only focusing on strategies. Because most part of the time, because the corporate world is very much emotion avoiding, vulnerability avoiding, because we just have to function and perform. Many people who are in corporate, they think that getting themselves out or to the next level of their career means only having a strategy and a plan. Most part of the time, what I see is mindset blocks, it's self-worth blocks, it's not believing it's possible, it's entertaining stories, which I totally get because I had them as well at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
That's why it took me 6 years without having somebody who specifically was guiding me through this transition. And I totally get that. So, right, it's normal because to have doubts, it's normal to be worried, right? But when you really nourish the desire and the vision of doing work, which means much more to you, and being in an environment which fits much more who you are, and where you can grow as a person and a professional, then you need a mixture of both. Yeah. And this is the reason why I speak about emotional states, because the more awareness we can bring to the fact that we can't only function, we are emotional beings, right? And so it's our whole selves which go through this transition.
Yes, absolutely. I love this because in society, you hear so often, you need to be rational. You know, society is set up rationally.
Yeah.
And on the contrary, humans run on emotions.
Yes.
So there's this contradiction, and there's this part that people start to shut off.
Yeah.
In order to function in society.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it's also once you decide either to move forward in corporate or set up your own business, at some point you really become aware that it's both of them. So I'm very aware that this is what we all have to go through at some point in order to find this, who am I then? How can I function? What is worthwhile for me? How can I be me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And in order to add something to that, what I have seen pretty often with my clients, because I've been doing this for some time now, is that the most brilliant people, they don't know what they're really good at. It was so surprising. And I have to say, for me, it was the same. I just knew what I was good at within this environment, in this role.
Yes.
But when I did, for example, one tool which I use is the Gallup Strengths Test. When I did that for myself, I found out that actually my natural talents were much more oriented to doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And that was like really mind-blowing. And I love supporting people and guiding people through discovering how much resources they actually have and how talented they actually have. And it's a question of channeling these talents, of owning them, channeling them, and then nourishing the vision. But so many people, brilliant, excellent people with huge careers, if you ask them, what are you really good at? What comes natural to you? They just don't know. And that has been mind-blowing to me.
Okay.
To see that so often.
Yeah. So do you connect it with the other question that I love to ask the people I work with is, what is it that you truly, truly want? Is that connected? Because I see it's connected to their strengths. And when they don't know, they also are not able to elaborate on that question. There's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I was actually connecting it to the aspect of the rational. We are used to thinking logically and rationally.
Yes.
Because this is an example of this, right? If people are used to only answer questions through their logic, if you ask them, what are you really good at? They never thought about it. They just got into a rut of doing what most part of the time, studying what parents would like them to study.
Expectations.
Status driven, expectations driven, exactly, as you're saying. And then they got into this role and this job, right? I mean, to be honest, it was the same for me,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
I didn't grow up in Switzerland, but I have a Swiss mother. So when I came here after studies, I started working in banking just because it was like, yeah, that's cool. They pay well and it could be interesting. And then it just happened.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
By the way, I really
Yes.
loved those years in there. I learned so much. And yeah, so nothing bad about this, but it's just natural that we fall into things because we are not taught
Yeah.
to find out who we truly are,
Yeah.
what we really love doing, and what we're good at, right?
Yeah.
That's not something we just have to function.
Yeah.
And so bringing awareness to this is connected to the rational thinking as well, and also to the fact that you just said, people are not used to be asked, what would you really want?
Yeah.
Because we just have to do things and study and start working and provide and make money and earn money and next level and next level. We don't, pretty often don't even take the time to do these reflections.
Yeah, well, we are always told to listen to what's being told to us.
Yeah.
So then you just create this disconnection over a specific amount of time, you know.
Yeah.
So this is what I experienced for myself as well. I knew what I wanted to do and I was good at it, and I thought I knew myself very well until I found myself in my work or in my marriage, and things were different.
Yeah.
Things were different than you expected. So it's connected to the false self or conditioned self instead of my true self, what I really, really wanted. So I've been there as well. And I think midlife, I don't call it a midlife crisis. I call it a recalibration to who you truly are. If you have been leaving all the stuff that was told to you and you were not able to understand or discern, is this truly who I am, or is this whatever role am I fulfilling?
Yeah.
You know? So before we had this, we started to record, we were having our own conversation, and so there was one aspect that was very close to your heart that you really wanted to share about. Can we hear more about that?
You have to remind me which one. We spoke about many things today.
I really have to think about what it was myself as well. So let me see. Was it about women and money? Was it about self-worth and money? Was it about...
Yeah, I think we touched on that.
Yeah. So something that really resonated with her. Oh, I really want to share about this, you know. So I think it was a self-worth.
Yeah, I think it was the story which I realized accepting as well, you know, only recently, of having witnessed my mom being that much dependent on a man. And then even when she then had the opportunity to build up her new life with 55, when my father passed, she just didn't see herself worthy enough to go back to work and then earn good money, despite knowing 5 languages and having lived abroad. And and that's, apart from the situation it brought me into as an only child, but witnessing that was really painful for me. Because when, especially as a woman, when you grow up and you have this example of a mother, because that's how we learn, right? To relate to our feminine aspect, who doesn't value herself enough. It was, you either have, I learned in my years of therapy, which I took also in order to do this job with more awareness. I learned that either you become like your mom or you become the exact opposite. And I have to say, I was lucky enough in the early years of when I was a child, my father was a very reliant person, and I loved him to bits. And he wanted me to be able to stand up for myself. He taught me how to not accept that other people would tell me what I needed to do, because I actually grew up in southern Italy, where Catholicism was widely spread. He also taught me, if somebody hits you, you don't have to do like the Catholics do and give them the other cheek. You just hit them back. So I have to say, when it was about, and I was very angry with my father because of his of how he basically ripped the family apart for many years. So I worked on this whole relationship and this whole trauma aspects and stuff. But when I saw how my mother was kind of surrendering and not fighting and not getting her life back, that was brought me to major reflection about how much it's our duties as women to see our worth in ourselves, to trust in our abilities.
Yes.
Especially because the times have changed, you know? I mean, nowadays, yeah, it's really, and what we were saying as well, you and me, that our generation is the first generation to actually be able to build financial independence.
Yes.
And I think this needs to be honored, because women have been, yeah, it has been hard, right? For us.
Yes.
But there have been some major figures of women during this decade who did some amazing work. I mean, I'm thinking of Maya Angelou,
Yeah.
and many other women who did some,
many,
who did some really some amazing work and stood out from what was considered to be the normal, right?
Yeah.
But I think this was some part of what we were discussing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I wanted to, it's strictly connected to our story, to how we were brought up, and our self-worth as well.
Yeah, yes, and how much our self-worth is inflicted by the people we were brought up by.
Yeah.
And authorities we allowed to listen to because we were children.
Yeah.
And we thought they knew better, or we had to learn, or we had to accept whatever was going on because they were adults and we were children.
Yes.
So I definitely can resonate with that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you know, all of this self-worth topic has been extremely an important part for myself as well. Setting up my own business, doing what I do now, is literally understanding, okay, where am I holding myself back? What am I not seeing? Where is it that I can support myself, nourish myself, prioritize myself? How can I be me and still be in my feminine energy? Because I also notice that society is a system set up by men for them to thrive in. And I see that women are invited to take part in that. And then what I took as mine was, I need to copy the masculine behavior in order to be successful.
Yeah.
And that to me brought me in a huge burnout. And I saw that, I still see that for many women, it's okay, how can I be me in this corporate world or in my business, aligned with who I truly am, without burning myself up by the should have, must have, all the expectations or what is said, you have to do it this way. And all this reinvention, I feel this is literally for our generation. Like you are breaking generational patterns. Like this generation right now is breaking generational patterns everywhere. If you're not aware of it, then you're repeating it.
Yeah, of course.
So this is very crucial for me to bring this message to the world. That whatever you've been growing or going through, you can grow from it and you can reinvent that aspect and see how you're able to benefit from what you might seem as was negative to you, how you can, use it to create a positive thing in your life.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also think that what you're saying can be connected to the topic of how much ownership do we as women take of our role.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah.
Because, and I think ownership is a bit different from taking responsibility. I think ownership is more about really like owning it and saying, okay, how do I want to think, feel, and act within this environment? If I'm corporate, my personal experience has been, I've always been respected by the men. It was a highly man-driven environment. I've very much been respected by men because I had developed some aspects which were required to be respected, right? The competence aspect is something I see many women doubt themselves, whether they could be competent enough.
Yeah.
And competence can be acquired. You can learn this, right? Combine this with the feminine aspects of being connected to your emotions and not denying them. Of course, have I heard, don't be so emotional. Who has not in the corporate environment? I mean, we know this, right?
Yeah.
There's no space for vulnerability.
Yeah.
So trying to respond to your question is how can women within the corporate environment feel more at ease? It's about balancing, being sure of their worth as women contributing and bringing the competence on one side, and on the other hand, bringing the heart connectedness. I had always very nice experiences in teams. I loved to work with people in teams. I had so much fun thinking back in the years with cool people, and sometimes you have somebody you don't get along with. It's like when you go to a party or somewhere, there's always somebody who you don't like. And then not try to focus on this, not try to focus on what doesn't work, but really learning on, okay, what does work here? Why do I like it? But even this type of question, we're not used to asking ourselves. Also because I feel the topic of learning how our brain works should be taught in school.
I absolutely agree.
Right?
I absolutely agree.
We need to learn about how our brain is wired for negativity, because that's how it is. It's as simple as that. And once we learn this and we acknowledge that this is just the normal, right? To focus tendentially, focus first on the thing you don't like. And then after 5 things you don't like, you start seeing sometimes something which you like. That this is not very helpful to navigating certain things, but it's just the nature of our brain survival, how the way we're built, right? So once we learn this, we can learn also how to handle it better, to use it in our support. And it requires ownership. What I was meaning before. Okay, how can I own my role better? How can I own the programming of my career, right? So as I said, my clients are people who love to work and where work has been a huge part of their life.
The high achieving aspects.
Not only high achieving, but just people who love to work. People who, where work is important for them, right? Not just a means to a salary.
Is there a message that you want to share still through this conversation?
I think while we're talking through this, I think that the message which perhaps I'd like to share is that what I have learned during the years is that we can actually get wherever we want if we own our way how to get there. If we refuse to see ourselves victims of our past, if we accept and embrace fully who we are, and I'm not there yet, absolutely not, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely not there, but I'm much more ahead than what I was 10 or 15 years ago. And yeah, I love the journey. I love coaching people. I believe enormously in coaching, otherwise I wouldn't do this. I really think it's a gift that we have, coaching, and it's not because I'm promoting what I do, of course, but I really believe that empowering people to see how much they are and how much they can achieve and attain, it's a gift. That's perhaps the message. We can get to wherever we want if we own our way how to get there.
Yes, if we allow ourselves to grow through things that hold ourselves back.
And if we allow ourselves that it doesn't have to be always sunshine and that sometimes pain and sadness is part of the game and that we can handle them.
I deeply resonate with your message, and I absolutely agree that we are here, and it's also to empower people to use their voice. What is their message? Why are they here? What is the difference they want to make? What do they want to contribute to? And helping people doing that is just a high level of fulfillment.
Beautiful.
That for them, and then also for you as a coach, for you being in a corporate world, having a team, because I also see there's people who are good at people management. If they really understand how to be like authentic or integer with the people they work with, that's the best boss you can ever have to work in corporate world with. Because he just understands that aspect very well. Yes.
Totally agree.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a great conversation.
Yes, thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
So I will provide your links in the description of this podcast. And I'm very happy to everybody who reaches out to me to connect them to you. And I'm so grateful for what you bring to this world.
Thank you.
And how you do that.
Thank you very much. My main channel is LinkedIn, by the way.
Yes. Okay.
And I enjoyed this very much. Thank you. And I find it's really cool that you're doing that.
Thank you, Claudia. Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. We are so grateful that you take part on this journey, because this channel is a sanctuary for awakened souls, mentors, guides, seekers, and leaders who are ready to step into a new way of being. Together, we are creating a powerful movement of self-mastery, personal growth, and spiritual evolution. Here, we don't just talk about change, we embody it. We guide a growing community toward deep self-awareness, grounded wisdom, and the courage to lead from within. This space is for those ready to realign their values, embrace transformation, and live a life that truly resonates with their soul. We are here to inspire and be inspired. And every challenge you overcome, every aligned decision you make, opens energetic doors for others to do the same. Your growth becomes a ripple that shifts generations. Even if you're just beginning, your voice matters. This is a call to rise, to lead with heart, to speak your truth, and to let go of fear and live from clarity, stability, and inner power. We believe the universe is conspiring in your favor, And the discomfort before growth is sacred. Your presence, your voice, your wisdom. Everything is an invitation to become the highest version of yourself. And your presence, your voice, and your wisdom are needed more than ever. Like this video, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell sign so you don't miss this. And if you know somebody who needs to hear this, share this with them. And thank you for your contribution for our call to rise and lead with heart.